Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello and welcome to this episode of our show. This is your host, Keith Doherty. Today our special guest is top real estate agent Bonney Leckie of C21 Selling Paradise based out of Cape Coral, Florida. Bonney became a licensee in November of 2004 and has worked at C21 Selling Paradise in Cape Coral since then. In addition to earning Gulf Shore Magazine's 5-star Best in Client Satisfaction Award every year since 2005, she achieved the C21 Centurion Award for 2012, 13, 14, and 15, every year since her company joined that franchise. This is one of C21's highest levels of production, comprised of the top 3% of agents nationwide. Within her company, she has earned all 3 top sales, top listings, and top closed dollar volume awards from among the 100-plus agents in her office from 2012 through 2015. Part of her business philosophy is using her powers to help people achieve their real estate goals, while at the same time using those same skills to contribute to the community with her work as an active board member on 2 local nonprofits, the Animal Refuge Center and the Florida Repertory Theater. All right, with all that said, Bonney, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Keith. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, Bonney, if we could start with, if you could tell our listeners, what led you into real estate? Was it something that you knew you always wanted to do, or did you maybe stumble into it?
The second part, I stumbled into it pretty much, Keith. I had retired from teaching high school English up in Indiana and came down here just for the weather, looking for a part-time job, something to do, and I hired in as a receptionist at a small brokerage, and within a year I got my real estate license, just kind of watching and looking at what folks were doing. So I really did start from the bottom and I worked my way up, kind of started from the back side of the business and went to the front.
Excellent. And if you could talk a little bit about what personal attributes, traits, or qualities do you think have most contributed to the success that you had? And then can you talk a little bit about how you think you developed those?
Sure. I was a teacher, and I don't know, surprisingly, even though I had never had a job in direct sales, the skill sets of teaching and the skill sets of doing well in real estate are pretty complementary. In fact, one of my coaches mentioned that former teachers often make very good agents because of their communication skills. I taught high school English, and their work ethic. We know how to work hard and problem solving. It's about getting people from point A to point B and basically doing public service and, getting paid for it. When I was teaching, I would get rewarded by getting more students. But this is a different kind of situation, and both are very satisfying. Probably the main quality that has helped me, Keith, is just being coachable. I've always enjoyed being a student. I got a master's degree very late in life and in literature, and I'm very coachable. I listen to my business coaches, I listen to my mentors, and I attend a lot of continuing education, and I'm focused on, building my business into the future, trying to be a smart business person in addition to a good salesperson.
I think kind of what you pointed out there, the crossover, I think at times if you think back to a teacher almost has to sell the kids on the concept. It's not so much a hard sell like, selling a car, but I think you have to, deliver it in a fashion, like you said, communicate so that people understand the concept. And like you said, you kind of just transitioned over and use those same skills to, basically facilitate the real estate side.
Absolutely, and we're always selling, and certainly for students, we are selling them on the idea of, the value of an education or the value of this lesson. So yeah, selling was part of my method before I even realized it. So yeah, we're always selling ourselves. When I'm working on getting a listing, working with a buyer, we are always trying to make a presentation and communicate in a way that, is going to end up with a win situation for everybody involved.
And do you think you could give our listeners an example of when your traits have played a role in your path towards success?
Well, okay, so, being in a coaching program since I began this career, one of the things we are taught is being versatile, being open to other people's personality styles and adapting to them. And if we're not, we're losing 75% of the business out there. If I'm only going to interact with people who are like me, then, I've narrowed my pool. So that's part of what has enabled me, Keith, to continue to do well every single year that I've been in business in spite of the market. And as you may know, in 2005, especially here in Cape Coral, Florida, Fort Myers, Cape Coral, Southwest Florida, we had a huge bubble and then a very precipitous decline after that. And my production, my client base simply grew every year since then. So I did not experience the downturn the way other agents I saw. I mean, the example I can give you is that in my office, the top producing agents, many of them, weren't prepared and weren't versatile enough to change their business from maybe, just standard resale. They couldn't make the transition to being an REO agent or being a short sale agent. But I've been blessed by, a good broker, good business training, and I've listened to them, and I've just been a lifelong student. So being open to ideas is often the key to survival, the ability to take criticism and learn, even when you're my age.
And I think, like you said, you've kind of already talked a little bit about it, but obviously you've kind of weathered probably one of the worst times in the market that we've had, like you mentioned, 2009, 10, and 11. So obviously that was a major adversity in a trial. Could you talk a little bit about, some of the other maybe adversities or trials that you had to overcome in order to have the success and to achieve your goals?
A big one would have been, it sounds silly, but for maybe a few months or even a year or so, I didn't really realize that my job was to be a professional salesperson. I saw people doing real estate in my office. They were doing well, and I thought, this is not rocket science. It's about paying attention to details. It's, getting people what they want, putting a buyer and a seller together. But I did not realize it at that point, I think, that my job was sales, and I had to prospect for business. And to this day, that remains a challenge. Every day I come into my office, and my philosophy is that I start at zero. So probably the biggest challenge is getting out of my little comfort zone and calling people, reaching out to business, and not relying on incoming business from past clients. And to grow a business truly, as you probably know, you can't rely on folks. You've always got to be growing your client base. So I have to prospect. I have to prospect to sell my listings. I have to prospect to get listings. And that means getting on the telephone, getting face-to-face. And that's not my natural personality style. So I would like to, be alone and read a book. But, to do this, you've got to talk to people. So that's been a tough thing for me.
I guess, you mentioned you had, obviously a long career in teaching. You decided to retire and you moved to Florida. And then you said, okay, let me try this real estate out. And like you said, you started at not such a great time. You also hit another time that was really bad. So what kept you going despite having these obstacles keep coming up? Why didn't you give up?
I didn't give up because I kept my eye on the horizon. I just knew that I had things that I had, and again, this goes back to my Mike Ferry training. Mike Ferry organization is the training program I've been with since the beginning. So, my training tells me that I have a job to do every day, and I go in and I have a schedule. I stay on my schedule. I have people I have to talk to. You keep your eye on the horizon, and things fall into place. And most of it was avoiding the drama, not getting caught up in the emotion, just being the voice of reason, the calming influence in a transaction. Because I don't know if you see it in your business, but I see it so much in real estate that people, they have to assume a certain business maturity and not get caught up in the drama. So I just kept my eye on my objectives. I set goals every year, and I have objectives to meet. And when you follow a plan, and when you are disciplined, as I am, I get up at 4:30 every morning. I'm in my office at 7:15. I just do what I have to do every day, and the numbers follow, Keith. And then I look up and I say, wow, I exceeded my goal, or wow, I'm halfway there. Or, you just kind of work and then you look up and you think, wow, I really did it. So just don't get caught up in the nonsense. Just work hard and the rewards follow.
Now, you mentioned kind of, keeping the horizon and stuff. Do you, it sounds like from your training and stuff, obviously you plan things out, you have goals, and you break those down so you can do those daily. Do you implement anything like a vision board or anything like that to kind of...
Absolutely. I'm looking at one right now, and it's got my son and my daughter-in-law and my grandson and the places we're going to go, and absolutely, that's part of it. I have really exciting goals, mostly traveling and spending time with my family, and the only way I can achieve those is by providing the very best customer service possible to at least 60 families every year. I've done the numbers, and if I can help 60, 70, 2 years ago I helped 92 people find their homes. So I have to do that to be able to do the things that make me excited. We all got to have our whys, and I've got some pretty exciting whys.
Excellent. I guess kind of looking forward, what do you see as your vision moving forward, say over the next 3 to 5 years?
I would like to be as busy in 2021 as I am today, Keith. This is such a wonderful career for me and for someone my age, and I would simply like to grow my business. I don't have plans to expand to being a team. I like giving personal service. My business model is me and a full-time assistant, and we just take as many listings as we can realistically service very well, because our philosophy is to take a saleable listing and to sell it rather than to keep it as inventory or let it expire. So, we have a certain business model that has served us well, and my plan over the next 5 years is to simply improve it. Maybe to work smarter all the time, just try to be more efficient with my energy. I'm 64 now, but, I can certainly see myself doing this, into my 70s.
Excellent. And I guess kind of on top of that, what do you feel is the best way that you market yourself as a real estate professional for continual growth?
Obviously, we have to stay up with technology. Grudgingly, I've, worked with Facebook and social media. So that's, part of what we do. And that helps, because a lot of the young folks are, using that a lot. So you can find me on social media. And obviously there are many, many agents we know who spend a fortune on marketing and promotion. But what I've learned, Keith, is that the best advertisement for my services is simply a sold sign in front of my listing and the positive word of mouth. I am religious about asking for referrals. And like I said, my marketing plan is not complicated. It's not costly. I take a saleable listing, I sell it, I tell everyone about it, and then I do it again. So that's what, you just got to keep the motor running. So we don't do print advertising. If it worked, we would do it. But we do the kind of advertising and marketing that works and that brings buyers in. A lot of it is my own prospecting. For at least 3 hours a day, I'm in my office prospecting, trying to find buyers for my listing, trying to find sellers. So marketing and promotion, I have a picture on my business card, but it's not very complicated beyond that.
And I think sometimes when people look at real estate agents, especially from a general consumer in the market, that there's a lot of misconceptions and myths that they look at an agent and they assume things. So what do you think the biggest misconception or myth that people have about working with a real estate agent is?
Well, I haven't been a real estate agent that long, 13 years or so, and I know I did not have a high opinion of real estate agents, earlier in my life. Probably the idea that real estate agents all sort of do the same things, or maybe even the idea that all real estate agents are competent, and they don't all do the same things, and they're not all competent. I do specific activities that are different than many agents. I'm very active versus a lot of passive marketing that happens. And unfortunately, as you know, it's relatively easy and inexpensive to get into real estate, Keith, and the turnover is tremendous. I mean, I deal with a lot of really, really good agents, but I'm regularly disappointed that the education level and the commitment, a lot of folks try to do real estate part-time, and it's just a disservice. It's a disservice, and essentially it's malpractice that people don't get better service from real estate agents. Call a real estate agent in Florida on a Friday afternoon or a Saturday and see how many of them actually answer the phone. So I don't know, I guess that would be the main thing. They don't all do the same thing, and they're not all as good as they should be.
Yeah, it's interesting. Actually, a friend of ours, my wife and I were at an appointment the other day, and a friend said to us, like, oh, I was looking for an agent. I went online and, I submitted a request or sent a message or something. I think they actually said they sent a message on Facebook. And if you know Facebook, when you send a message on Facebook, you can actually see when somebody reads it.
Uh-huh.
And so they saw the agent read their message that they were inquiring about, real estate services. And the agent decided not to get back to her for like 5 days. And it's like, that's almost a bigger slap in the face than just not even answering the phone, or, you leave a message, but that somebody read the message on the other side. Then it's like, oh, I'll call him back 5 days later. Well, obviously at that point she had moved on, because nobody waits for anything this day and age. They want it instantly. So, but it's interesting. And it appeared to be a very successful agent in the area that he has a lot of business, but I guess he was just too busy to bother with her at that point in time.
Yeah, we couldn't make these things up. It's so unfortunate. No. Yeah.
And actually, I think somebody told me it was interesting. Somebody, I think, said it on Google. If you start to type in something about with a real estate agent, it comes back with a bunch of negative stuff in Google, because Google has like a recommendation thing. So it's and it's sad, because there's people like yourself, and everybody that we've had on the show has been, just high-end, very successful real estate professionals. So it's sad that the general, misconception of people out there, like you said, you're not all created equal. Not everybody the same, and it's sad, because there's a huge swing of, success versus just somebody that ran out and got the license.
Right. Yeah, I make a point of letting folks know early on that I'm a full-time professional, 100% committed to this career for the long term, and I have many, many past clients that I do a great deal of business with, and a lot of good testimonials. But you've always got to be working toward the future.
Yeah, I just remembered, I've typed in my computer. If you type in real estate agents are up in the little Google bar, and the four searches that come up that are common to Google are real estate agents are scum, real estate agents are useless, real estate agents, typically what kind of agent, and then real estate agents are crooks.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, it's sad, because I meet people like you all the time that obviously are nowhere even near any of these definitions, but that's what a lot of times the general market conception or perception is.
Right.
Because of a lot of bad, it's just like the bad apples in the bunch are taking the reputation down.
Right, and that's why every moment that I'm out there in public, I have a vehicle with my magnet on the side. Some people think that's corny, but I have it on there, and it's worked well for me. And I also have my name on my license plate. And I'm very conscious whenever I walk outside my door. I'm conscious that, again, I'm selling myself. People have to feel confident in me. They look at me, they look at my vehicle, they look at my presentation, and I have to instill confidence in them from the moment they see me. People are always judging us, and we're having to work against that common stereotype that you just mentioned, but it's all about presentation and delivery. You've got to deliver your product.
So let's say you get a call from a family member or a friend. They're in another state, and they want to sell their home. They're like, hey, let's call Bonnie. She'll be able to help us out. She'll be able to give us some advice. So what advice would you give them about selecting an agent that could best serve their needs? Kind of like you make sure you take care of your people. And I understand in the business you could, refer somebody and you could do your own investigation. But in general, how would you guide them? What advice would you give them to select an agent?
Absolutely. That's a great question, and I get it fairly frequently. Two things. First of all, I would ask them if I could check my business coaching network, the Mike Ferry referral system, because I can go there and find the best agents in their market area for the kind of home or product that they have, land or condo or whatever. And then I can also check the C21 referral network, and I can find and I can get a lot of information, production, client service record, what kinds of properties they're selling. And I like to give them a choice. I'll go through there and personally, find maybe 3 of the best from those 2 sources and send those recommendations. And I also like to talk to those agents before I refer them, because you are exactly right. Some of these very high producers, they're not very hands-on. It takes them a while to get back to you. And so sometimes it's maybe the first agent who gets back to me. And then I always recommend that folks interview 3 agents, set up 3 appointments. I've got a list of 10 questions that you always want to ask before you hire an agent. Specific questions about, what is your plan of action, Bonnie? What are you going to do day to day, week to week to get my house sold, sales record and that sort of thing. So, ask some hard questions. I'm appalled at people will hire an agent and never even ask them how many houses they sold in the last 12 months. Never ask them, are you familiar with this or that? People don't ask questions. So that would be my recommendation. Let me find you the best agents in the area and then, interview 3 of them.
Excellent. And if somebody's looking for real estate services in the obviously Cape Coral, Fort Myers area, what's the best way that somebody can find out more information about you and how you can help them? Just remember that my first name is spelled Bonney, and type my name into the browser line of your search engine, and it'll pop up. Bonney Leckie at Century 21 will come up, or you could go to C21.com and type in my name. But just remember the first part is Bonney. You'll find me. Very excellent. Well, yeah. Excellent, Bonnie. Well, Bonnie, we want to obviously thank you for taking time out of your schedule and coming here and sharing all of your real estate experience with our listeners. And if you're listening and you want to find out more about Bonnie and how she can help you, you can go to her website, like she said. Also below this interview, we'll have a link to her site. We'll have any other contact information we have for her so that you can make contact and see if you guys are a good fit to work together. So with that said, everybody, until our next show, have a great day, and we'll talk to you all soon.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.